Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. It's so good to see you. My name is Morgan Graham, and I'm the Assistant Director of the Walter Nathan Literary Initiatives, which is sponsoring our event tonight. The Walter Nathan Literary Initiatives are brand new this year, so this is our very first event in this event series, and we're so grateful to Mike and Julie Kaplan for their generous donation and making the literary initiatives possible. The Kaplans are CLA alumni, and we're really grateful to them for their support. And we're really excited to welcome you tonight to this event to celebrate Great River Review issue 68. And the Great River Review is a magazine that's produced for the last few years out of the University of Minnesota MFA program. So we're grateful for all the work of our MFA students that make that possible. And we're really excited to have CMarie Fuhrman and Stephen Scott Whitaker here with us tonight to read their work from that most recent issue that we're launching tonight. So thank you so much for joining us. And I'll go ahead and turn this over to Peter Campion to introduce our first reader.
Thanks so much, Morgan. Should I just give this to Whit when they come up? Hey everybody, I'm Peter Campion, and among other things that I do here in Pillsbury Hall, I help to edit Great River Review. Although this issue of Great River Review was done under the valiant leadership of my colleague, Catherine Nirenberger. And also with the cooperation of a whole slew of graduate student editors who did fantastic work. And then we worked on it over the summer and fall and printed it during the winter break, and it's out now. Everybody who's here, please take a copy for free and enjoy it. It's a really fantastic issue. Tonight to introduce the winner of the Daniel Pink Poetry Prize. The Pink Poetry Prize is named after Daniel Pink, who was a graduate of the MFA program, and this prize is in his memory. This is the second annual prize, and I was so thrilled that we were able to get Adrian Matika to be the judge. Nationally honored poet, and I was so compelled by Adrian's choice in Whit's poem, Boy in Disintegration, which I hope you get to hear during Whit's reading. Stephen Scott Whitaker, they, them, theirs, is a member of the National Book Critics Circle, a teacher, and a grant writer. Whitaker's writings appeared in Tupelo Quarterly, The Rumpus, the American Journal of Poetry, Crab Creek Review, Oxford Poetry, and other journals. The author of 4 chapbooks and a broadside from Broadsided Press, Whitaker is the recipient of fellowships from Maryland Humanities, Maryland State Arts Council, the Virginia Commission for the Arts, and the Witter-Binner Foundation of Poetry for bringing poetry into classrooms and communities on the eastern shore of Maryland and Virginia. Whitaker is the fiction editor and managing editor of the Broadkill Review. Mulch, a novel of weird fiction, is forthcoming from Montag Press in early 2023. It's a pleasure to turn for the overview with.
Do I wear this? I do wear. Okay, so this is a clip. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? Everybody good? All right. I don't think I'll need this microphone. How's everyone doing? It's a pleasure for me to be here. This is a treat for me to get off the tiny, I could take this off, right? To get off the tiny little peninsula where I live and work, to come and share with you with poetry, or share poetry with you rather. I'm going to start off with a poem that's probably the angriest in the set. My mother and I have gotten over this little portion. We've apologized. We get along. I love my mother. My mother loves me. But this is a true story. This is correcting my walk that appears in this current issue. I would also like to dedicate this set really to queer kids in Texas and in Florida who are struggling with all of the authoritative laws that are coming down as they are trying to manifest whatever it is they are trying to manifest for themselves. And this is correcting my walk. So hard to hear mother's commands, all good and true in the world is correct. As we went up, down the hill, her demanding, correcting all which is correct, correct beats laid out by her feet, elbows out, open, relaxed as a fact can relax when it's sitting on the page. It is, you are, mother bids, corrects. Love, a measure, less swinging like a gate, less twirling like with Ginny in the garage. Trust mother to take care of every aspect that needs correction. Come through, voices sing. Over here, voices sing. So hard to hear commands as we went up, down the hill. Elbows out, don't swing like a bell. Correcting softness. Come through. Caught one too many times in the jewelry dish. Magpie heart on a chain hanging around the neck. Mother to instruct, to correct every defect in my gait. Worry wrung nights, so worried that she loved a what? Measuring this and this and this to say after a stretch of block, correct. Was it Wonder Woman, me, Diana twirling with Ginny in the garage, Wonder Woman whipping bullets back by spinning on heels? I could be anyone, correct. No hula hips, no swinging like a gate, elbows in, arms out, flexing, not two tongues wagging, going on and on. There's something wrong, correct. There's something wrong with there's something wrong. On the first day, no one at school believed I was a boy. Was it that? Was it teacher calling home to correct mother, mother's crone, the crone's crone, voiceless? Love must adjust and prim and prime, up, up, up. I told stories to myself when alone, in my head, correct. A mirror, avoid, and look at what good mother willed, correct. Come Christmas, Batman costumes, Batman wings. A mother loves her son enough to correct. This next one is called Phalaropes, the Drink and Me. And this one is published in Body, which is a nice little international journal. I think it's run out of Prague now. I don't know where it's, could be wrong about that. Phalaropes, the Drink and Me. Along one river fell all the luck in the world. A sad town without a drunk, a sad town droning on and on as the river grew dirty with luck. Luck drowned, luck fell over short stone fences, luck fell over I fell up to the table often, and often the table and drink gave me the lie. Fuck everything up in my path. In my path, good is used up for what a drink will do me. Fuel for casting off luck, and in casting off, my feet direct me to sea, of course, the ocean mind, to see, of course, farther phalaropes nesting in wild ponds, to see, of course, Atlantic and Atlantic and Atlantic. Phalaropes called through fog, phalaropes sad and lowing. Across the marsh, a circling fog, phalaropes, luck falling into the drink. My footpath pulled me out. My footpath pulled me clean through the fog of it. On the other side, a meadow, deep and full with lupin, wild and rising up, purple as a queen. This one, I have a tendency to like write stuff and publish it and then keep revising it. Some of you may do that too. And this is one that is in the new Tupelo Quarterly, but I've already changed it. It's like a contrapuntal now instead of a block shaped poem. And this is called Magic. This came from a dream. Magic. Once I turned into my mother's dress, yellow dashed with red and white daisies, a trim midi shape that supported the sky. Bristled and oafish with clouds and rain, my mother did not wear the dress, but it was hers. This I knew. Her dress, me, the woman who wore me, the dress, sung bits of song to merlins gathered on a fist of sea-washed elm, gray and gnarled as oceans. The world to me, a thin skein cupping flesh, in love with its own happiness, singing to birds who hawked and fish who sewed up the air with looping hooks. I barely hung on, terrified of spinning off the only warm thing in the world which gave me sight. Honeysuckle, gathered up in the wind of afternoon storms, fell like luck. Was there an echo? I don't remember. Thinking had begun to fall in sheets. The swinging pull of a woman's body, unfixed and peaked among others of her kind, whom I saw not but sensed. All that remained, feeling, almost falling away, teetering on the wind. I knew nothing. Storms carried low tide back to the village. The ocean called. Soon, it said, soon. This is from a series of poems which all kind of have the same title. Some of them are demarcated with some stylistic grammar. Basically, I've been working on a lot of symbiosis, work about symbiotic relationships. I've spent a lot of time over the summer just kind of diving into some queer ecology papers and just having my mind blown, etc. So this is also comes out of the new Tupelo Quarterly. And this is one of several. This is called Queer the Woods. Once I took a man and swallowed him up. Woods did not watch, no witnesses, only birds, stewards of forest sleep, and eye to earth and teeth to tree. The man only wanted to father. My forest eye clamped him up. He lost all vowels with my touch. I slept among the forest, my kin, my kind. Rage slept in my ribcage like a rook, forking its talons against my bones, eating away at the hollow's hollow. When I awoke, darkness cupped the light like a hand. My hands shook from fright or joy. After all these years, I do not know. This is kind of a little different shift in terms of tone. This is kind of this. I don't know if you know who Dr. Strange is. This is based on a comic book character. He kind of floats in the air in kind of a lotus position and kind of does stuff with time and metaphysics. And this poem is called In Which I Encounter Dr. Strange. In which I encounter Dr. Strange, estranged from flesh, floating upside down to go forward the way time turns into itself, the way a person turns into themselves and returns through themselves to the future. The ocean's ocean, time. Stephen, why are your hands turned up? Why are your hands so precious? When I reach the end of my long wavelength, what will I see? From where you float up like a cloud, hiding from the sun, like a thought that has not popped, like a balloon heart loosed, knocking against the ribs of a drugstore, useless and free. Stephen, do you ever get tired of being so wise? Floating there in the astral stretch of elsewhere that is all the space between two molecules in a tail of a blue whale above the deepest Pacific cut in a warm Pacific sleep is you, Stephen Strange. How much space can you escape from? Hanging there in the ether's ether like a painting. I could pick you up while you thought your thoughts. I could set you on a wall next to a mirror to watch you watch yourself think. Darkness is the place your hands and my hands know. We used to share a name. All right. So I'm going to read a couple of semi-new stuff from another series, because I write all the time, just because I'm probably a little nutty that way. And so it seems to be a lot about emptiness and climate change, is because I live on a tiny little narrow peninsula, and the ocean and the Chesapeake Bay are constantly, in my thoughts, because it's, eroding everything. This is wolf realizes they are not a wolf. Breaking against the wind horn, the rocks piled against the beach to keep the ocean from eating, the sun opens its eye. The wolf looking back has just awoke, their veins flooded with memories whiskey. I shall not do this again, already coming out of their lips as the sun opens its gaze a bit more, the wind horn sounding its alarm as Mother Ocean beats herself against the earth, which she will take, even if the wolf is sitting on the stones, looking out at the water, their eyes alone, their body shaking with withdrawal's long, slow language. I am not a wolf's wolf. I am one thing, not another. Just as a field is more than a field, a forest break where the mushroom mind gives over the earth's softness, giving the mother trees fair warmth to pitch their hopes. I am not a wolf, nor was I ever anything but a countermeasure against the wolf's love, a love for the pleasure of tearing flesh from flesh with the sound that ocean's treasure. I rip, I rip, I rip the wolf's measure of wolfness, of home, wherever home opened like an eye, the moon empty as empty can sound to a soul at the bottom of a hole, which is inside the belly of a wolf who is not a wolf, but a meadow creature, a mouse, a rat, a crow, or a jay going blue for another jay in the open pasture where the tether of the moon is imagined and the earth's dressing provides pleasure, where the spirit of the wolf measures its softness to softness and learns the language of clover, heather, a place where the moon's poems no longer hold power, a softness, forever softness in heather. How's everybody doing? Right. Here's a short one for you folks. Another from the wolf thing. This is probably one I will probably gut. Probably. I like to do this to myself. I'll read something new and then I'll torture myself later on down the line. A couple weeks from now, I'll be like, can't believe I read that. This is The Wolf Celebrates Emptiness. The wolf celebrates emptiness by making more emptiness. The cold emptiness of the moon's music is a wide open space. What a great service to the moon, creating emptiness for the moon's influence. Why is it Father Wolf talks to the pup through the moon? Why is it Mother Wolf shames the pup through the moon? Who is the moon to a meadow mind? Sunlight is the riddle. Pollen and dew its turns. The moon's mind is borrowed from the sun's happiness. The wolf who is not a wolf knows this. Wild grain growing up on the edge of some wind-lorn brace of locusts twisting up through the swamp's edge. Here the wolf minds the warm happiness of the green. Here the wolf is not. All right, this is the last one about the wolf. And then I'll be about done. This one's called American Bodies. And it's fairly sort of new. Is it new? Yeah, kind of new. American Bodies. I go about my day as a person transitioning into themselves, out of himself, in a city built on bodies, endorsed by a face that celebrates ownership of bodies. And what do I find? Bodies, local, movable, but controlled by external forces so invisible, many people would say they are ghosts, the forces controlling the body. Paper stolen from the body of a tree controls so many bodies. All day, bodies complain about the state controlling their body. My parents talk about other people's bodies as if they own them. Other people talk about other people's bodies as if they own them. People reveal themselves. The wolf comes in on words. When you repeat the wolf's lies, then the wolf has already eaten you. Some parents of children I have taught would kill me if they discovered my queerness, mostly because they were told to by a body of fear. They invite fear into their home. They repeat what fear has told them. American states are trying to control children's bodies, children who understand their body more than the state understands anything. Take guns, for example. That's a body too. In America, guns have rights. In America, a corporation has rights, has a body. I'm not sure what rights people have in the face of all that corporate armed robbery unless the individual body has a gun. And because I am in America, the individual body likely has a gun for both hands and one for the kids' bodies to wield. Being there more guns in America than living bodies, any given situation is a possible deathly hallow. Someone with a gun will kill some of my people. It will be over bodies and what one does with a body. It will have everything to do with being an American. If I don't like you, I will take from your body. Is the law on my side if I say I? This is America. You already know. Boop, boop. You get some hydration in there. All right, I'm going to read Boy in Disintegration Loop and I'll be done, I think. Yes. Okay, so this is Boy in Disintegration Loop, and Adrian's kind words were like candy to me. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Boy in Disintegration Loop. Head on a string, body far, far, far below, as far away from him as far away can be for a boy listening to wind swishing and swirling through clouds, as feathery as a Christmas beard in late December. Oh, where is the boy going? Head so far away from earth and school and mother in all ways of boys. Where on earth is a voice for a boy with his head on a string? An echo at first, an echo from far away, returning to the boy as the sister might after a long visit from far away. An echo at first, before clearing like a bell the boy's head and attracting all birds to the sound of the voice, rising from an echo, a voice so familiar, so true, it cannot be anything but his own voice coming to him at once. At once his head enlarged, and in doing so his head floated further out, the string stretching out as far as it can stretch, the voice of the boy ringing in the clouds. In the clouds, the boy sang all afternoon, the afternoon ringing and floating along like a lark, body so far, far, far away, away was too far for his body to catch up. The boy, his voice returning from far away, behind him, gone. Thank you so much for letting me read to you. And you've got a great treat coming up for you. Thanks so much. You guys rock. Oh, yes, of course. I'm going to walk away with that. It's going to come home with me. There you go. I'm so sorry.
Oh.
I might have stolen it. I did
Thank
steal
you.
it.
So I've got one mic for you and one mic for YouTube people. Morgan, who started things off tonight, did an enormous amount of work to make this happen. So I just want you to know, yeah, thank you, Morgan. And Terry Sutton, who's being very stealthy in the back, was also really great help. I'm so excited to be introducing you to CMarie Fuhrman. When her essay came in, when we were editing Great River Review, we were like, oh, we're about to be so lucky and get to publish this beautiful piece of writing. CMarie Fuhrman is the author of Camped Beneath the Dam Poems and co-editor of Native Voices, Indigenous Poetry, Craft, and Conversations. She has published or has forthcoming poetry and nonfiction in multiple journals, including Emergence Magazine, Platform Review, Yellow Medicine Review, Poetry Northwest, and several anthologies. CMarie is a regular columnist for The Inlander, translations editor for Broadsided Press, and editor of High Desert Journal. CMarie is the director of the Elk River Writers Workshop and director of poetry at Western Colorado University, where she also teaches nature writing. She's the current Idaho writer in residence. She resides in the mountains of West Central Idaho with her partner Caleb and their dogs Carhart and Cisco. I'm so excited to introduce you to CMarie Fuhrman. Make sure I get all this correct. Can you all hear me okay? Or would you like, okay. Stephen,
My God, those were amazing. No surprise there. And don't get the wolf poem too much. That shorter one was beautiful. Can hear the bay in your writing. It's lovely. Thank you. Any of you watch The Office? Remember that series, The Office? Okay, I get to a lectern now and I want to do the bang, bang. Do you remember that with Dwight Schrute? Yeah, I won't do that, but that's the urge I get. Oh, goodness. Hi. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking time out of your evening to be here with us tonight. It really means a lot. You could be doing a lot of other things and you at home as well, but to be here with us tonight means a lot to me. And Morgan, I've just so enjoyed working with you over the past few months and getting to know you a little through email. So thanks for all you're doing to make this happen as well. I appreciate it. Of course, Kate and Great River Review, what an honor. It's just been, I got to read with Kate a few months back. I guess it's been longer now, a year, and have loved every minute of getting to know her and her work. So it's just been great. It's also good to be in Dakota country, huh? Nice. Also, we're pretty darn lucky to have another day to breathe this air and be here. And I'm always grateful to the creator for that extra day. So thanks for sharing it with me. All right. I think that's all of the gratitude. I'm going to read to you a piece that started off as an epistle, and I wrote on the banks of a river right after my partner Caleb left for a kayaking trip. So I love the epistle form because you can take on a voice that sometimes you don't feel as confident taking on when you start with an essay, and this definitely has that voice in it. No way to say goodbye. We are standing on the downstream bank of the Selway River on the border between Montana and Idaho. Monday morning, July 26, 2019. We had awoken only 2 hours earlier at Paradise Campground, a mile or so away in Montana. What was supposed to be a hot night turned out to be clear and cold, and several times I wrestled with my sleeping bag and the dogs as they pinned one corner or another of it down, leaving my shoulders or feet exposed. Your head was next to mine on the pillow, asleep in minutes after you put it there. As is usual, I took upwards of an hour to fall asleep and gazed through the back window of the truck's camper shells at stars so abundant I had to put my glasses on to be sure I saw each independently and not duplicates. Your oldest friend Joe and his brother Chris had scored a late season pass to float the Selway, and though you wrestled with whether or not to go, you finally said yes. I wonder if the struggle was because of my history with kayaks and rivers, or the fear of the words I would say to you at the put-in, the words I had said once before, another trip, another river, different friends. Please don't die. I rehearsed the words before I say them to you. I'm practicing the speech I will give you and your friends about no booze and boating, no fucking around, portage when you are uncertain. As you are each packing your boats, I finally say, make good choices. I do not tell any of you to have fun or be safe or take pictures. While you pack, I walk to the sign at the trailhead that follows the river for 47 miles to Selway Falls, where I will meet you in 3 days. On the message board, alongside a poster of Smokey Bear, photos of noxious weeds, and a reminder to pack it in, pack it out, is a picture of two brothers. It reads, missing since May 2018. I had seen the picture of the brothers months earlier driving to Moscow, Idaho, along the Clearwater River, a billboard alongside the road. They are both in camouflage, smiling. They are shoulder to shoulder. The tip of a deer antler is showing near one brother's knee. They have no idea that in a matter of months or days, I do not know when the picture was taken, they will be in a car that slides off the road we drove to get here, just a short way upstream of where we stand, and end up in Deep Creek and eventually the Selway. 2 men will escape and swim to safety. 2 more will perish in the car, and the 2 brothers will remain unfound for what is now 14 months. Returning to the put-in, I say to you, the fish biologist who has packed snorkeling gear, I think you might find them. The river is low. You are on the search and rescue team in our home county, and I'm trying to soothe myself with words. I'm trying to change the narrative. You smile at me, also believing it possible. The river is very low, no rain. The snow is mostly down from Trapper Peak and the other high mountains that feed the river. Casually, I say, look for bones. Joe tilts his head, says, that's pretty awful. Those families need closure, I say. In my mind, I see a logjam with a tear of camouflage fabric. I see a candle next to a photo of a smiling man, beside it a wife wanting to bury something other than her face in her hands. She is done believing that they somehow escaped. She wants to put herself and his body to rest. Let a little dust come to the silver frame. I say this, and I see a yellow helmet in Spring River, Wyoming, the Clark's Fork, 15 years earlier. The helmet goes up and down in the rapids. He was monkeyed up on a rock, Jim said. I thought he meant sitting on top of it. I thought that meant alive. No, you would tell me later. It meant that the water had forced Randy up against a rock I have never seen nor looked for, but I imagine as the size of an armchair, black with lichen, gray on top because it is dry enough for Randy, my husband, on June 26, 2004, to put his bare hands on and pull himself up. I push Jim. I yell at him, how could you leave him? We are standing on the road near Painter's Bridge, Clark County, Wyoming. I had gone inside the store across the highway to buy snacks or beer or maybe use the bathroom. I was going to meet Randy and Jim at the takeout. They were going to be there any minute. But a woman ran in just as I was checking out, said that someone had fallen in the river. I said to the cashier, my husband is a medevac pilot. He'll find them. But monkeyed up on a rock didn't mean safe. You will tell me that by the time Jim saw Randy against that rock, Randy was probably dead. When the tip of your boat is barely touching the sailway, I tell you that I wish you had a helmet that was a color other than black, a bright color, something easy to spot in case you come out of your boat. You point to the water, give me that look. I can see the bottom. Yesterday, we walked into the middle of it, felt the cool of it on our feet, then ankles. Only when I neared a debris jam did it get as high as my knees. I reached both hands down and pulled up my skirt, laughing. This is how I count cool with rivers. Standing in their middles, my feet solid on their rocks, this is how I take my story back. This is how I forgive water. I waded back to you and pointed to a stonefly. It was the color of fall grass, long, delicate, antenna still searching in the wind. I reached down to pick it up and ask if it will bite. No, you tell me, it is only the exoskeleton. I take it from the rock, hold it in my hand, and wonder how something so lifelike can be hollow. A breeze lifts it from my palm and carries it to the water, where I watch it ride a riffle until I could not see it anymore. You have often said that water is unforgiving. You take long runs and backpack alone into the forest, into the Frank Church wilderness whose boundary is near our home. If I break a leg or get heat exhaustion, I have a pretty good chance of making it. I imagine I am lying next to you in bed as you are telling me this, but it is just as likely that we are standing in the kitchen or driving, or you're giving me an argument as to why you won't wear a spot, don't need to check in. Only recently did you tell me, pack raft on your back, that it was a more stable boat, that you don't run rapids in it. I want to tell you that I find your lack of concern for me disrespectful, irresponsible, knowing my history. How for the first couple of years I will pace the living room of our cabin, how I will go to bed, get back up, eat ice cream, drink wine, go to bed again, then take NyQuil or Advil PM so that I can sleep, so that I'm awake just enough to say goodnight when you finally do come home, just awake enough to ask you to take a shower before getting into bed. I will then roll over my back to you and go to sleep hugging my pillow and telling myself that maybe you need to find someone who can go on these long runs and hikes with you, that a woman more like yourself would be a better match for you than I am, someone who can keep up. I tell myself I need to find a man who doesn't take these chances. Fuck you, I will scream to both you and Randy in my head. Fuck you both for taking these chances with me. But by morning, My fear and anger will subside. I'll ask you about the scenery, ask if you saw any animals. Did you take pictures? The morning before Randy drowned in the Clarks Fork River near Painter's Bridge in Wyoming, he and I went for a walk. We were camping with Katie and Buster, 2 of our 4 dogs. When we reached the top of a small ridge, Randy sat on a boulder, looked toward the river, and I snapped a picture. He's wearing a light blue polo, jeans, a ball cap, and his favorite sunglasses. This picture would be the last picture ever taken of him. He's looking away from me, or so it seems, but perhaps his dark lenses hide his true gaze. For years, I will wonder if he is saying goodbye. His hands were shaking at breakfast. He said he was nervous, but didn't know why. The picture sits on my desk at home, a brown frame that is supposed to look like natural wood, but isn't. A simple 4x6 that now I cannot even remember having developed, but it must have been so hard to open that envelope of pictures, to see him again, alive and sitting on that rock, with the pain still so fresh in me that surely I traced the outline of his jaw with my finger, maybe brought the image to my lips. I have looked at it for so many years now, I no longer see it. At the put-in, on the concrete ramp that leads into the cellway, I watch your 6'4" frame slide easily into the new pack raft you brought earlier this year. This will be your second trip, your longest in the new boat. You do the same hop and scoot I watched Randy do so many times. First bow, then body touches the water, and soon the whole boat is lifted from the rocks and you are floating. I bring my camera to my eye and find you in the frame. I click and hear the mechanical shutter sound. I click again and again. I cannot see your face, but I know you are looking at me. Soon your friends join in their kayaks and all of you begin to float downstream. You pivot your boat around and wave. I take 3 more pictures, zoom in as far as I can to see you, take another, then climb up the bank to your truck. I told you I would likely hike down the trail along the river for a while. I lied. Randy had blown kisses. He was across the river from me the last time I saw him. I don't remember now if I waited for him and Jim to put their boats back in the water or turned and left, limping back to the truck. I was recovering from a broken ankle, an accident had on the unfinished steps at our house. When I turned to laugh at something Randy said, caught my foot between risers, and spun around on what once was a very stable joint. It was a week before we were to leave on our honeymoon. I wish I remember what Randy said because it was funny and I would like the chance to laugh at it now. My ankle was broken, shattered. There would be surgery and no honeymoon, even though we had rescheduled for a later date after the cast came off. I hobbled away from the river and I never saw Randy alive again. Leaning against your truck, I rehearse what I will say when the sheriff meets me at the takeout, or when I finally get to cell service and there is a call. Maybe it's Joe's wife or your mother. Maybe there will be a crowd gathered at Selway Falls in a coroner's van. I will overhear someone say, they haven't found the body, or he is pinned under a log and it may be a while before the equipment can get him out, or they left his body on the trail and the search and rescue guys are hiking in to get it. I tell myself that when I hear these words, I will not believe it is you. It will be someone else they are talking about. And when I find out it is you, I will stand very still after telling the sheriff I am his partner. I will do exactly what he and the crowd expect me to do. I don't want my reaction to seem practiced, so as my hands go to my face to cover my mouth in that cliched way, I'll act surprised and in disbelief. But already I will be working out my escape. I will let the tears fall until some brave person approaches me, and then I will ask to see you, ask where you are. In my mind, I'll be packing up the house, deciding what needs to go. I will be dumping every ounce of liquor from the cabinet, giving away house plants and turning off the water. I will stay in McCall only as long as your funeral, and the whole time I'm there, I will pack. I will pack and throw things away, and I will not answer the phone or the eyes of friends and family who will be asking, how could this happen to her again? I will let myself believe that I am cursed. I will let this be the excuse as to why I never get into another love relationship. And as lookers on gasp and secretly take pictures of me or us, as they did from Painter's Bridge the day I lay with Randy's body until I yelled, "Get the fuck out of here," I will already be in another town, starting a new life, avoiding questions and lying when I don't. I will tell these lies so often and so perfectly that eventually even I will believe them. I will not be drunk at your funeral. When people say to me, "Don't worry, you'll find someone new," I will not tell them to go to hell. I will not forsake my dogs or sleep in the closet or throw your mother's china to the floor just to break the goddamn silence that you leave me. I will tell my mother and friends that I'm used to this. No, they needn't come stay with me. I always knew this day would come. I will not squander your money. I will not live on a diet of hot dogs and mayonnaise, nor will I take all the Xanax they prescribe me with all the scotch in the house and tell myself it's just to help me sleep. What I will not have control over are the dreams. Dreams of us together in some bright meadow, as we are now most days in summer. Dreams of you and me on a boat or train, as I was with Randy for years after he died. Dreams of your anger at me for selling the house, getting rid of your things. I will not be able to say my dead husband, as I do now when I talk about Randy. I will have to say my first dead husband or my latest. And I will laugh a little afterwards. And when people get home to their spouses, they'll whisper, "I think she might have gone crazy," but I will not be crazy. And this will be unfortunate. I get in the truck and wait to start the motor. I want you to believe that I'm going to hike as I said I would. I want you to think that if you were to get out of your boat and touch the trail, you would be touching me. But I want away from the river. I tell myself I need ice. I want a real cup of coffee to make up for the instant you gave me at camp only a couple of hours ago. Just the ice, and I'll head back with the dogs to the woods where books and notebooks and a fine campsite next to Lake Como or Painted Rocks Lake would hold me still. I will back the truck up to the water and stare across it until the sun sets and try to imagine you and Chris and Joe at some camp 15 or so miles from where I left you this morning, your faces vibrant and lit by campfire. Before the coroner left with Randy's body, I asked to see him. She opened one of the van's two back doors, the one with NER on it, and I climbed inside. I unzipped the bag very slowly. I did not want to catch Randy's hair, scrape his nose. I cannot remember if his eyes were open or closed, only that they were blue. I remember his brown hair still wet with river water, his lips dry from where mine had been. I tried to hug him. I wanted to pull out his hand to hold it. I think I remember his lips slightly smiling, or was his mouth open? That night, I would make my mind's eye go over every inch of his body again and again. I would memorize it. I would forget the coroner reaching in before rezipping the bag and running her fingers through his hair, saying he had such great hair. 2 days passed, and I am in the little convenience store across the bridge that goes over the Locksaw at the confluence of it and the Selway. I asked the cashier if there have been any reports of anyone drowning. I am thumbing the sale shirts on the rack, acting like he must get this question all the time. I tell him my first husband died kayaking, and I have some fear that rides with me when my current partner is on the river. He avoids my eyes as I hand him my credit card, and I smile at this, feeling agency, the power I need for what may be to come. The road along the Selway is not as thin as that we drove along Deep Creek. It would take a lot of high water or some really bad choices to put a truck in the river here. I stop once to pull plums from a roadside tree. The air conditioner is all the way up, and still the dogs pant in the seat beside me. Despite having the map, I make a wrong turn. It takes me 15 minutes to find a wide enough place to turn around and make my way to where you said you would meet me. I back the truck up to the river, open the tailgate. The sand is too hot for the dogs' paws, so they get into the bed and take comfort in the shade. They lap greedily at ice-down water. I watch the river for a helmet, for an empty kayak that might come floating by. Preparing is how I get through. Friends, when they lose their spouses, ask me how to get through the first night. What I want to say to them is that you don't get through it or over it. You get used to it. I will tell them the pain will come in waves, and sometimes those waves will be so big that they take you under. Other times, it will be a scent or someone walking down the street that you are sure is your beloved, and you catch up to him, and just as you are about to tap their shoulder, you realize, no. How many things end so finally as they do when the bow of a boat touches the bank of a river after days of riding its current? 1 minute you are being carried by unforgiving water, and the next you are rising out of your boat, feet on the same sand as mine. It's hot. So you pull off your black helmet, fill it with water, then pour it over your hair and head. It falls to your shoulders, runs the length of your body, then drains back into the Selway. From here, it will travel to the Clearwater, the Columbia, and all the way back to the Pacific. Thank you.
An in-person reading always is a gift, but especially after a few years of not being able to gather and hear amazing writers read their work. Thank you so much to CMarie and to Whit for taking time out of your week to be here with us tonight, and to read to us and share your work. We really appreciate it. And thank you so much to everyone who joined us tonight to celebrate the newest issue of Great River Review. To anybody who was able to join us over Zoom, thank you for being here. And we have some cookies and also copies of Great River Review issue 68 here by the door for you to take with you when you go. But thank you again so much for joining us tonight, and to our two readers.